This is the Black TV Show podcast hosted by Miriam Temeskin. Welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 80. Crazy, we're already at episode 80, like almost the year has gone by basically. But anyways, the episode that we're talking about is The Cosby Show Season 4, Episode 4, Cliff's Mistake. And this is a great Halloween episode as we start October. Of course, later in the month, we're going to go back to Season 2 for that Halloween episode that we skipped because I felt like it was just better if we had it in October. And so we got 2 Halloween episodes, although this episode, if you look at it, doesn't seem like a Halloween episode based on the name Cliff's Mistake. This episode aired October 15th, 1987. The synopsis of this episode is when Cliff's neighbor asks him to return his prized power drill, he ends up searching the house to find it. Theo and Vanessa help Rudy prepare a haunted house for Halloween. So we start off in the kitchen where Claire is there, and Cliff comes and says that he's going to the novelty store. I didn't know what that meant, but I guess what that would be nowadays is like Spirit Halloween, where you it's like a pop-up Halloween store that only comes in October, or sometimes it comes in September because they try to be here earlier, and it's just a pop-up store with a whole bunch of Halloween stuff. I don't know if that's the case in America for you guys, if you're Americans, but I know in Canada there's a thing called Spirit Halloween, and they take, like, they're not here all year long. They're only here for around the Halloween time. And I think their stuff is pretty expensive. I wouldn't know. I don't really celebrate Halloween, so I would not know because I haven't dressed up since I was a kid when I had to go trick-or-treating. I think that was the last time I actually dressed up. And so he's going to the store to get Rudy her haunted house items, I guess. And, Claire's like, don't get something too scary, these are little kids. And he's like, oh, it's okay. I am the master of fright, so there will be some scary stuff. And so then before he leaves, Claire points out that Jeffrey Engel will be coming over in an hour to drop off Beth. And Beth is going to be helping out with the haunted house. And she's also coming over to pick up that power drill. And Cliff forgot that he even had it. And he's had it for a month. And Cliff still hasn't finished building the shelf that it seems like under the sink. Which, who wants the shelf under the sink? I don't know. Because what he was doing, it seemed like it was more of like a garbage bin. Like that, a lot of... when you go to a lot of houses, if you open that door, it usually has a garbage bag. So I didn't know why he was building a shelf on the door of under the sink. Don't know. So he didn't finish the project, but he's had the drill for, a month. And so Cliff says, oh man, I guess I should buy myself a new power drill to finish the project. So he leaves. And it's later on, and Rudy brings Vanessa down with her eyes closed, and Kenny brings a bowl of olives, and they get Vanessa to touch it, and she's like, "What is it?" And they were like, "It's eyeballs," and she's like, "Ew!" And then they were like, "No, it's not eyeballs; it's just olives." And Kenny came over to help make the haunted house, and Theo is making this ghost, and he tells Vanessa, you should be the mummy, where you're all dressed up in bandage, or I guess towel paper. I don't know. When I'm thinking about mummy, I'm thinking about that one episode from That's So Raven when she became a mummy, but she had to use a whole bunch of toilet paper. Sorry, I don't know why I'm getting those words mixed up. And so that's what I'm thinking. And Vanessa's excited. She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna be the mummy," and then Rudy points out I'm going to be the witch, and Kenny was like, "Yeah, because a witch is a woman." And Rudy was like, "What do you mean?" And this is basically another grown-up talk that children should not have. Kenny needs to go to maybe therapy or some strict educational on what gender roles should be gone, and men and women are equal. Like, he literally needs to go to school for this. Like, he was like, yeah, no, witches are women, and you're like, no, it's not. Of course, when you see a lot of films and TV shows, the witches are usually female. Like, I'm thinking of like Halloween Town, where the women are witches, and then I think the men are goblins. Can't remember. By the way, Halloween Town is my thing. It's not a black movie, but it's my thing for Halloween. I always watch it, and it's on Disney Plus. And then also Twitches, which is an actual black movie with Tia and Tamara. They're witches, that's why they're called the movie's called Twitches. And then what's that show with Selena Gomez? I think it's like Wizards of Waverly Place. And I think she's a witch. I can't remember. I haven't seen that show in over 10 years. But it is a thing where a female is a witch, but they could be anything else. And she points out, like, I could be Frankenstein. And he was like, no, you can't. That's a male. You could be his wife, but she's ugly. And so so basically he's calling Rudy ugly. What? So Cliff comes back from the store, and, as I said, Theo made the ghosts and showed Cliff. So Cliff brought over fake spiders. All of them are not impressed with it. And they're like, did you get something else? And he brings a fake bat. They're still not impressed. Theo goes into the bag and see what else he got, and he sees the power drill. He's like, yeah, we can use this to scare the kids. And Cliff was like, no, the power drill is for me. It's not for the haunted house. I love how they think that was for the haunted house. Like, if I saw a power drill, would I want that for a haunted house? Probably not, because that's a dangerous tool, and you don't want to hurt someone on Halloween, basically, or at a haunted house. So the doorbell rings, and it's Beth and Jeffrey, and of course Beth is coming over to help Rudy, and Cliff shows the fake spiders to Beth, and she's laughing. And she's not scared. So Beth brought over some brains, but they're really wet noodles. So, they really are creative for this haunted house. Like, the fact that they made eyeballs out of olives, brains out of noodles. Like, they're really, I guess, making body parts out of food, or food, what is it? Food out of body parts, or body parts out of food? Not sure. But they're very creative. I would not be this creative, honestly. And so Beth leaves to go see Rudy, and Cliff is surprised that all these kids are not scared of the spiders. Back in their day, like Cliff and Jeffrey's day of being kids, they were so scared of this during Halloween. And so Jeffrey gets to the point and be like, oh, he wants his drill back. And so Cliff was like, okay. And so he goes into this toolbox, and there's no drill in there. And so he was like, oh, maybe I left it in the kitchen, because that's where my last project was. So we go to the kitchen, and we can't find it. And, Cliff was like, oh, why don't you just stay for a bit until I find it? And Jeffrey's like, no, I just want to take the drill and get going. And so Cliff can't find it. So they both look under the sink together, which is like, they're like crawling basically in the kitchen. And so Jeffrey's like, well, I'll come back at 5 and I'll pick up the power drill at that time. And so he leaves, and Claire comes down and asks, like, what is going on? Because, like, Cliff is opening all the drawers, and he basically says, I can't find the power drill. And so Claire was like, where did you last find it? And he's like, I don't know. Like, he's just, like, unsure. So he goes upstairs and leaves. And we're in the basement, and we're hearing some sound effects, Halloween sound effects, from all the children. And by the way, in terms of the costumes, Rudy is a witch, so she stayed with it. Kenny is a pirate. Theo is a werewolf. And as I said, Beth was a skeleton, I think. I think that's what you call it. Or bones and stuff. I don't know what you call that, actually, costume. But, and then, of course, Vanessa was the mummy. And so they're recording their sound effects, and then they're going to do it again. But then they hear Cliff is going to come down. So then they're like, let's hide and we'll put the current sound effects. And by the way, with these kind of shows, when they play back the sound effects, it's not the one that they just did while we watch. They tend to do this recording ahead of time because I don't think they could do it perfectly and also I feel like back in the day it's hard to like transfer things. I don't know if that's just my mind, but that's the case. What we hear when Cliff comes down is pre-recorded before this scene was recorded. Just to let you know on that. And so Cliff comes down and he's looking for them, and the ghost hit him hard. And I was like, damn, it hit him hard. Like I wouldn't want, like I would, I feel like, if I saw something like that hit me hard, I think I would just like collapse, like I would drop. So I'm surprised he didn't, because I would be like freaked out, and then at the same time I'm on the stairs, so I would collapse and then like fall all the way down to the basement. Do you know what I mean? And so it's just like I couldn't. I really don't like haunted house. I have family members that go every year in California to go to these haunted house. I don't know if they have it at Disneyland or somewhere, but I couldn't do it. That would freak me out. And so Cliff tells them, like, I'm looking for the power drill, and I need you guys to help. And so he goes to one side, and Beth comes to Cliff and says, is it, my dad's power drill? And he's like, yeah, it's his drill. And so she says that her dad loves the drill, and he keeps it in a special drawer. And so you can tell Beth is just making Cliff really sad and make him really feel bad about the situation. And she mentions that he got the drill from her grandpa before he died. That one hit me hard. When a kid says that too, it hits you hard. So you could tell Cliff really feels bad about this, as I said, the situation. And so Theo comes back and says, oh, I found my old baseball cleats that I lost like years ago. And Cliff was like, that is not the point. Focus on the drill. And so he goes, and then Theo was like, okay, so where did you use it last? And Cliff was like, I don't know. And Theo was like, how do you not know where you last used the drill? It's a huge drill. It's not like something small. And he's like, I don't know. Stop questioning, basically. And so Beth comes back to Cliff and says, if you don't find the drill, will you cry? And he's like, no, I wouldn't cry. And Beth says, well, I bet my dad will cry. I'm like, don't say that about your father, though. That's so sad. And so it's Act 2, and Cliff checks all over the bedroom. So the bedroom is all messed up, mattress. Oh, I don't know. Like the bed sheets are off, and like everything is just out of order, basically. And he still can't find the drill, and Claire comes in and is like, oh my god, you can't find the drill. And the doorbell rings, and that means it is 5 o'clock, means Jeffrey is at the door. And Claire was like, just be honest with Jeffrey. Like, just be honest with him. Like, you guys are friends, so as long as you're honest with him, it's basically honest is the best policy, and coming from someone that's a lawyer, I think that's the best policy. Cliff goes down to the living room, and he sees Jeffrey, but he doesn't want to let him in. But Jeffrey just lets himself in. Is the door unlocked? And this is going to happen again. I'm going to point it out again when this happens. But it's just like, he just walks in, and I'm like, I don't think anyone could just walk into my house. It just wouldn't happen. Like, that is a safety issue. And especially New York City, Brooklyn. Like, well, I don't know what the difference is from Brooklyn and all the other parts of New York, but it's just New York City. I don't know. Like, at the time that I'm recording this, I've heard there's a lot of shootings in New York City. Of course, this is now October, so I don't know if things have changed, but it's just, New York isn't that safe. So I don't know why these people leave the door open. So anyways, Jeffrey lets himself in, and Cliff tells the honest truth to Jeffrey. Jeffrey feels so sad. He's like, it was my father's drill, and it meant a lot. And Cliff decides to give his brand new drill that he bought from the store to Jeffrey. Jeffrey was like, I don't want it. And he's mad that, he lost his drill, because it's something... I understand, there's certain things in your life that, it might be a materialistic thing, but it has some kind of meaning to it. I don't currently have anything that's like that, but something that's very valuable to me is my photos and videos that I've collected from my family, from all the way from maybe like 1970s. Like, if that was all taken away from me today, I would be depressed. Like, because it's like, now I don't have a visual memory of what life was like in the past, and it's just it's always, it makes you smile every time you look at these photos and videos. So that to me is a very, like, I wouldn't trust someone with my life if they had all that photos and videos of my family. Just like how Jeffrey says, I trust, I said to my wife that I trusted Cliff. He was the one person that I could trust, but now I don't think I can trust him. Yeah, the same. I don't trust no one with my photos and videos. That's why I have like double copies of hard drives and stuff like that. You can't trust people. If you have something valuable, don't give it to people. Like, don't. I always think nowadays, like, I didn't have this mindset before when I was like in university, because I was poor and broke, but now I'm okay. If I lend something, I just assume, like, if you lend money, if you lend something, you just assume you'll never get it back. And then when you do get it back, then it's a double win, basically. But you just assume you never get it back. And the same that Jeffrey says, I didn't realize that I wouldn't get it back, basically. And he says he's never lending Cliff anything ever again. And Jeffrey's also even says, do not lose my daughter. That would be the worst thing in life if you lost someone's child, honestly. So Jeffrey is angry, and he leaves. And we're back into the bedroom, and Claire is cleaning up the bedroom, the mess that Cliff made by messing up the room. And Cliff wants to thank her for, messing things up, because, Jeffrey's mad. And Claire was like, you have to be honest, basically. And Claire brings up a situation in the past where something to do with a barbecue. I watched this episode twice. For some reason, my mindset would not focus on this storyline. Basically, I think someone lost a barbecue, like Cliff's barbecue, and I think Claire is to be the one to blame for losing it. But I couldn't concentrate for some reason whenever they were talking about that. So we're just gonna skip over. And so Claire tells Cliff, well, maybe wait till Christmas and you could buy him a new drill. And Cliff hears the word Christmas and walks away. And Claire was like, what's going on? And he goes to he didn't go down to the basement, but he goes, I guess there must be like a closet by the basement or some shelf by the basement. I have no idea. He didn't go all the way down, or else we would have seen it. But he grabs this box, and it's labeled Christmas lights. And he finds the power drill, Jeffrey's power drill. And we're all happy for him, because now his friendship will not be ruined by this item. And he actually hid the drill from the kids and put in a box that labeled Christmas lights, because the kids hated putting up the Christmas lights. And I'm like, oh. As a kid, I don't think, my dad had a whole bunch of tools. I was never interested in touching them. So it's crazy that he was so scared that these kids would touch his power drill or use it. So it's crazy to me to think about that. But so Claire points out, listen to her speak knowledge or speak facts about what the lesson we've learned today in this episode.
There's a lesson to be learned in all of this. Oh,
Lord, what is the lesson to be learned in all of this?
When you hide things from other people, you are really hiding it from yourself, because at your age, your memory can't take it.
And so, Peter comes over, and yet again, he came over without having someone open the door for him. He just walked in. So both their back and front door is unlocked. Isn't that, it's not safe, man. Like, I don't know. I don't even feel safe to do that, because nowadays a lot of people have cameras at their front doors just to make sure that their packages are not being stolen. It's just not safe, okay? It's just not safe. And so Peter came over for the haunted house thing, and so Claire shows the way to him. And so Cliff says, I am going to return this drill. So he leaves. And we see the scary sound effects of the haunted house. And of course, Peter runs out of the basement and all the way to the living room. And Cliff ends up opening the door for him. So he doesn't even need to struggle with the door. And this part was so funny because it's like I guess Cliff sees that Peter is running, so he opens the door, and Peter runs out, and then Cliff opens he leaves the door, he leaves the house also behind him and closes the door. And it's just, I don't know, to me it was just funny to see that. I'm weird like that, but there's certain things that they're very funny for that moment. And so we're at the Jeffries house, and Cliff returns the drill, and Jeffrey is so happy to see it, and he apologizes to Cliff for being, I guess, kind of rude. And, and also Jeffrey realized that he also had Cliff's umbrella, and so he returns it to Cliff, and they realize that, they're just at the age where they're forgetting where they put their things, and they were, surprised that we haven't forgotten each other's names. I don't know. And they say goodbye, and that's the end of the episode. As noted, as I said in I think the first episode of season 4, Jeffrey is added into the credits, the main credits for the show. So Sabrina and Jeffrey Owens do not appear in this episode. So we had a few guest stars, but most of them are repeated. But we had Wallace Shawn, who plays Jeffrey. He has over 250 credits to his name. And he has 4 more other episodes of the Cosby Show, so we will see him throughout a few more seasons he's in. And he's also done the show Cosby, and then all the other stuff I wasn't familiarized. So, but he's done a lot of acting. He's continued acting to this day, honestly. So good on him. And then of course we had Dion Richmond playing Kenny. We had, I can't say her name, Penny Penman, who plays Beth, and this is the last episode that we see of her. And then we have Peter playing Peter. So easy.
There's a lesson to be learned in all of this.
Oh, Lord, what is the lesson to be learned in all of this?
The lesson is taken straight from Claire Huxtable. When you hide things from other people, you are really hiding from yourself. Facts. That is a gem drop-in right there, okay? And the question I have for you guys is, have you ever lost your friend's stuff, and what did you do? I want to hear. I don't think I've lost anything. I can't think of in my mind right now. If I do, I might point it out in social media, but at the moment I can't think of. But I want to hear from you guys. Let me know at Twitter and Instagram using the hashtag CliffsMistake. I would love to hear. And, it's been a while, so we're going to do Black TV Show of the Week. And this show for this week is Blackish. So Blackish is still going on. So Blackish announced that season 8 will be their final season. So it will be ending in 2022 in the spring season. Similarly to the Cosby Show, surprisingly, it seems very strange to me that they're ending at the 8th season, which will end at the 30-year anniversary of when the Cosby Show ended. So this is like a deja vu, I feel like, of the Blackish being similarly to the Cosby Show, but of course they have so many other different things. But they have similarly that they have 5 children, and both of the parents are, rich and all that. Just letting you know, this is a added note after I recorded this episode. But it started in September of 2014, and it's kind of similar to the Cosby Show. We don't say it's the same thing because it's 2 different shows. But basically, it's an upper middle class African American family led by Andre Dre, because usually that's the short form of Johnson, and Rainbow/Bo Johnson. They all really have short nicknames. The show revolves around the family's lives as they juggle several personal and social political issues. And the show has been compared to the Cosby Show, but I think the main difference is that they really tackle on racial injustice. That's a big deal. So they've done a Juneteenth episode. They've done like Black Lives Matter episodes. They've done a lot, and a lot of the episodes are based on what's happening in the world. I remember because with the pandemic, they did a whole episode about the pandemic. So there's just because I feel like with the Cosby Show, it's very generalized. They're just generalized storylines about the family life, not so much of the family life being affected by what's happening in society in a way. I don't know if that makes sense, but so I think that's the main difference between the two shows. Blackish deals with what's happening in society, and the Cosby Show deals with what's happening within the family. And so the main cast for this show is Anthony Anderson, who plays Dre, Tracy Ellis Ross, who plays Bo, which y'all remember her when we talked about Girlfriends. I love her on Girlfriends. And as I said, she's the daughter of Diana Ross, the legendary Diana Ross. And then we have Yara Shahidi, who plays Zoe, which I love her. She's just amazing. I would love to meet her one day. And then Marcus I can't say his last name. Scabner? I think I said that wrong, so I apologize. He plays Junior Johnson, so he's Andre, but they call him Junior. Miles Brown, who plays Jack Johnson. Marcy Martin, who plays Diana Johnson. Jennifer Lewis, who plays Rudy Johnson. And by the way, Jennifer Lewis and Tracy Ellis Ross both were on Girlfriends, but they're not in the same relation as what they were in Girlfriends. And then we have Deanne Cole playing Charlie, who is a coworker of Dre, and also a friend of Dre. And we have a huge list of guest stars. I couldn't get all of them down because there's too many, but we have Lauren Fishburne, who plays the grandpa, like the dad of Dre. We had Raven Simone, Wanda Sykes, Rashida Jones, Faison Love, Regina Hall, Loretta Devine, Tyra Banks, Bumper Robinson, John Witherspoon, Trevor Jackson, Octavia Spencer, Spike Lee, Cat Williams, Chloe and Halle Bailey, Keith David, Michael J. White, Mary J. Blige, Danny Glover, Diddy, Jill Murray Jones, and many more. There's so many. This show ended up having spin-off shows just similarly like the Cosby Show. The Cosby Show had the spin-off Different Worlds, which we're currently talking about. So what Blackish did, they did a spin-off called Grownish. So as I said, similar to A Different World, where Zoe goes to college. She goes away to college, away from her family. Same with with Denise, who went away to college. The only difference is they're not going to a HBCU. They're going to a predominant white school. And then they also have more spin-off shows, which is Mixed-ish is Rainbow Johnson, who's the mom, recounts her experience growing up in a mixed race family in the 80s and the constant dilemmas she and her family have faced over whether to assimilate it or to stay true to themselves. So that's currently going on. And Mark Paul Gosling plays the father of the show, and Tika Sumpter plays the mom. Like two of my favorites. Mark Paul is from Saved by the Bell, and one day we'll start talking about drama shows. Tika Sumpter was on the Haves and the Have-Nots, like the Tyler Perry show. So we'll probably talk about it at some point. And then there's a new one. I'm not sure if it is out yet, but there is Oldish, which was announced as the new spin-off starring Lawrence Fishburne, and Jennifer Lewis is in the works, which is basically about, I guess, being old. Because they're the grandparents. And of course, they got married, so now they're in love, because at one point they were both divorced, but then they became in love and they're back together. And you can watch Blackish streaming now on Disney Plus and Hulu, and I believe whenever they have new episodes, it goes on ABC News, or It goes on to ABC, and it's usually like I think on Tuesday nights in the evening, like 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock. I'm not sure the time, but you can watch new episodes there. And I also noticed that it's on syndications on many other channels, so you can just catch the show wherever you want. Okay. You have cable, if you have streaming, you can catch it. I strongly encourage you because this is the newer show, because a lot of the shows I've been talking about for the Black TV shows were all old shows, but sometimes we gotta actually start watching what's happening now. We gotta support the Black content that's being made right now, because I am a Black creator and I hope to one day make my own TV show and movies, and we gotta support the people now. So we can make more content and better shows for the future. So make sure to check out Blackish. And the next episode is episode 81, A Different World, season 1, episode 4, Those Who Can't Tutor. And I will see you all on the next one.